Assalamu alaikum. Good morning and welcome to Baina News Store right here on Baina News TV. My name is Joy Preston and I'll be your host. Our headline: Go forth and shape Africa's destiny. President Nana Addo challenges African youth. The President Nana Addo Dankwa Akuffo Addo has challenged Africa's youth to take mental, physical and economic lead roles in positioning Africa as the giant of the future. In a speech read on his behalf by the Vice President, Dr. Mahmoudou Bawumia, at the Youth Connect Africa Summit taking place in Accra recently, the President maintained that the African could be as successful as any other and urged the youth, who make up a very large portion of Africa's population, to take their rightful place in shaping the continent's destiny. In a quote, he said, "I do not accept that Africa has a DNA that dooms us to failure. Africans can, like all other peoples that have succeeded, make life meaningful and worth living for their own people. We must cultivate an irrepressible desire to do right by the citizen." He added, "There is an abundance of dynamic entrepreneurial talent on our continent struggling to express itself and take advantage of such conditions. We have to encourage this expression with full force and ensure that we can stand on our own feet and make it impossible for the systematic looting and plundering of our human and material resources that have characterized much of our modern history to continue. This is the significance of the concept of Ghana beyond aid, indeed Africa beyond aid." So that's the President urging African youth to take up their responsibility to be able to be inclusive citizens in the world. He's saying that he doesn't believe that the African has a DNA issue, meaning that the African is equally as able to make a life for him or herself. So therefore, African youth should take the lead as future leaders, tap into their entrepreneurial skills, their creative skills, and make meaningful contributions. Fantastic encouragement from the presidents there. I think indeed most African youths, being that we have more than 40% of Africa's population being the youths, are actually doing a lot to take up responsibilities for themselves. After COVID-19, a lot of young people across Africa and beyond found themselves without jobs, and they've had to tap into their own skills to be able to make a living. This is just re-echoing what is already going on. Kudos to the president there. Okay, so let's look at other news. The president also addressing the nation there. He's saying to onion sellers, he said, "Your issues will be addressed soon. Let's look at what happened." The president addressed challenges facing onion sellers at Addo Kotoku in Accra recently. According to him, those needs will be addressed in earnest to assist the traders in their activities. President Akuffo Addo gave the assurance just this week Thursday when he met the traders as part of his tour of the Greater Accra region. He said he will speak to the Greater Accra Regional Minister, Mr. Henry Kwate, to ensure that the toilet facilities and other social amenities needed are provided. Now, let's look at a quick background of what actually happened. Now, the Greater Accra Regional Minister just on Friday issued a 7-week ultimatum for onion traders who used to trade at Agbogbloshie to relocate to Addo Kotoku, which a new market was established at Addo Kotoku over a decade ago in a bid to decongest the central business district. I'm sure that most of you that have been to Agbogboshe would realize that it is extremely congested, and I'm sure that traders are, all trying to have their own space to make sure that they're able to sell their goods and services. So onion sellers have been relocated to Ajin Kotokun, and they have asked the president to intervene in ensuring that they are able to carry out their day-to-day activities. This includes the provision of toilets and etc. The president has promised that he will ensure that those basic social amenities are met as soon as possible. All right, still talking about government activities. And the government has launched what is called CODA Drive Initiative to phase out what is called Okada. Most of you know what Okada is, the use of motorcycles in and across town, and it has known not only to be efficient, but it has also cost a lot of lives as well. The drive called CODA is coming in to replace Okada, and this is done by the Coastal Development Authority. It launched its CODA Drive initiative, which is hoping to get commercial motorcycle riders to give up their motorcycles for a budget-equipped vehicle on a hire purchase basis. This forms part of processes to phase out the commercial motorcycle business, also known as Okada. The launch, which took place just yesterday, saw several motorcycle riders in attendance. CODA said the intervention is to improve the livelihoods of the riders and create employment by facilitating transportation for individuals and small businesses within the coastal development zone. So the main thing here is that CODA is coming in to replace the Okada means of transportation, and the reasons for doing this is so that more lives are saved and so that the riders of Okada will have a more consistent means of livelihood. Let's hope that this initiative actually works. We will be following up with that in the coming weeks to see how far CODA is being patronized, or how far they are able to actually implement it. Because as you and I know, Okada has been here for so long. Most people actually live by it, and they find it so much easier to even be able to move across traffic, and they think it's also faster. The issue is it also costs a lot of human lives as well. Which would you choose? Don't forget to leave your comments as we continue on today's news tour. Right. Okay, so Ablakwa is calling on the president to apologize to the Aflao chief for his disrespectful comments. Let's see why. The Member of Parliament MP for North Tongo in the Volta region, Samuel Okuzeto Ablakwa, has taken on President Nana Akuffo Dankwa for asking the chief of Aflao, Togbe Adzongaga Amenziva Fiti the Fifth, to go ahead and complete the Aflao E-block in his community if he is frustrated about the delay the project has suffered. The chief is reported to have given an ultimatum to the Minister of Education to complete the project. However, the president, in an interview on a particular platform, said that if the chief has the power to give such an ultimatum to the minister, he thus asked the chief to complete the project if he wants to. And but the North Tongu lawmaker, Ablakwa, finds the president's comment as disrespectful and condescending to the chief. According to Ablakwa, the president used intemperate language that should not be coming from him as the person expected to strengthen national cohesion. In a quote, Ablakwa said, "Our reverend chiefs and custodians of our proud traditions deserve utmost respect at all times, regardless of which part of the country they exercise their authority." Okay, so that's Ablakwa calling on the president to apologize to the chief for what he claims is condescending. I think, obviously, as he said, obviously, you know, as a main decision maker, I think sometimes you also do get a little bit fed up with a lot of complaints coming from here and there. Nevertheless, it dawns on you as the main leader to be cautious of the sort of language that is used to address very, very critical and touching issues. So I think Dankwa has a point there. Let's hope that, as he said, the president will consider apologizing to the chief. All right, let's move on. Also on the president's activities, President Akufo-Addo apologizes for, in a quote, "no harbor in Cape Coast" comments. Let's look at what that is about. The president, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, has apologized to the people of Cape Coast for saying he never promised a harbor in the central regional capital. Some residents of Cape Coast had been waiting on the government for the construction of a new harbor because the governing New Patriotic Party, NPP, promised to establish such a facility in the area during the run-up to the 2020 general elections. But their hopes were almost dashed off after President Akufo-Addo, in a recent interview, said his party never made such a promise. In a quote, he said the commitment was never to build a harbor, it was to build a landing site, he said on a Cape Coast-based media platform. Now, the comment by the president during his tour of the central region earlier this week generated controversy as videos of the president reiterating the promise from the NPP manifesto resurfaced on social media. Okay, so the president has apologized for his inappropriate comment there about promising harbor in Cape Coast and saying that he didn't promise so. Right, so it's also so important, I think, for aspiring leaders in politics, in government, you know, in companies. It's important that we are mindful of the comments we make. And I'm sure that, you know, most people that are voting leaders in powers of government, they do so believing that a lot of the promises that are made when they are vying for votes are the reasons why people actually vote them in. So to come out and say that you never say such a thing, it is a bit controversial. Let's hope that the president does go ahead and, you know, stick to his promise, as people are looking up to him as the main head of the country. Right, let's move on. The opposition has also surfaced. Mr. Mahama takes on Akufo-Addo on youth empowerment policies and infrastructure. Let's see what he has to say. The former President John Mahama has once again taken on President Nana Akufo-Addo Dankwa, accusing the latter of mismanaging the country. Mr. John Mahama insists President Akufo-Addo is jeopardizing the future of Ghana. He's saying that the Akufo-Addo government has no clear strategy for creating jobs for the youth, he further said. Speaking to the people of Oti region during his thank you tour, Mr. Mahama indicated the NDC has policies that prioritizes youth empowerment as well as job creation. In a quote, he's saying, there is no government that has mortgaged the future of the youth of this country more than this current administration, according to him. Looking at all the work we did, look at this whole technical university and all the infrastructure in this region. Who built them? He goes on and on and on. Okay, so he's more or less talking about the future of the youth, and he's accusing the current government of, you know, not having a good enough strategy. I think, true, you know, there are a lot of things that are not working. There are also a lot of things that are working. It's really up to you and I to begin to decide what are we voting for, what do we want to see in the next presidential election, and how do we currently live in the moment and make our lives work. Of course, a lot of people are struggling. And we also heard the president come out and encourage the youth to, you know, to become creative, to tap into their entrepreneurial skills, and to stand as able Africans. And at the same time, we have the opposition saying that there's no clear strategy for the youth. I think at the end of the day, what we must do, we being the people, the young people of Ghana, West Africa, and Africa at large, we have to begin to really take up our future and work it out. Look at all the resources we have around us. What can't our leaders do? At the end of the day, it's up to us to really, really try and do what we can to make sure we make the most of our potential and make the most of what is available for us to make a decent life. Okay, let's move on. Don't forget to leave your comments. We will be happy to respond to them. Okay, Assembly members in Lora Municipality reject MCE nominees for the third time. Right, Assembly members of the Lora municipalities have for the third time refused to confirm the presidential municipal chief executive MCE nominee for the area, Martin Bomba Ire. The nominee was reappointed by President Nana Addo Akuffo after failing to secure a win on two earlier separate occasions. Mr. Bomba Ire pulled 23 yes as against 18 no, thereby being unable to obtain the 2/3 majority of the assembly members as required by the Local Governance Act. Well, maybe he should simply just accept it. I mean, if people are saying that they don't want him, what's the point of continuing to do it? Sometimes it pays to listen to what people actually want. All right. Let's look at the law. Stop Torturing Law Students, NALS, has called. The National Association of Law Students, NALS, has taken to Accra Street to protest the mass failure in the Ghana School of Law entrance test. Candidates are criticizing the General Legal Council, GLC, for their failure to secure admissions after a new quota system was implemented. All right, the pass mark for entrance exam has always been 50% in both sections. This year, the rule has been changed and candidates are to score at least 50% in both sections. Okay. At Accra's Black Star Square just this week, Wednesday, students cladded in red and black hoisted placards with messages expressing their displeasure. Some of them wrote, "Stop torturing law students." So law students have expressed their displeasure there. For the new quota system, they're saying that every law student must pass at least 50% on both sides to be accepted into the Ghana Ghana School of Law. I'm sure that there will be more to that. Still on the Ghana School of Law. The president's lack of space at law school remark disappointing, one aggrieved candidate has said. His name being Hassan Asari, one of the aggrieved School of Law entrance exam candidate, has said President Akufo-Addo's comments on the lack of space to admit more law students give credence to fears that the Ghana Legal Council admits a set number of students. Okay, describing the comment as disappointing, Mr. Asari said, "It only affirms our position that the Ghana School of Law entrance exam is a sham because people pass and the only reason for not taking them is because you don't have space." That's quite sad. I think it is sad indeed. If there's a new quota system that is saying that you must pass at least 50% on both sides and then maybe it's not actually true. It's because there isn't enough space to admit more students, then that's not justifiable. I think the government can do so much more. They should be looking more into this at able potential law students who are looking to get into the Ghana School of Law. Don't forget that the law plays a huge role in our government and indeed as a nation. And it's important to have justifiable reasons on why more law students can be admitted. To say this because there isn't enough space is not good enough. And I totally agree with this, unhappy candidates saying that you cannot say because there isn't enough space to admit students. That's not a good enough reason. If you're saying it's the quota system, come out and say it. It's important that it's clear so that we know exactly where we stand. All right, let's go to Tamale, the northern region. The Health Service Workers Union at the Tamale Teaching Hospital in the northern region is threatening to strike over poor conditions of service if it does not receive any concrete assurances from the government. Speaking on the media platform, Ziblim Adam, the chairman of the union at the Tamale Teaching Hospital, said the union had been treated unfairly by the Fair Wages and Salaries Commissions. He felt the commission has responded positively to other unions, but was not showing the same level of respect to the Health Service Workers Union. Right, in a quote he said, "What we laid before the commission was not different from what other colleagues did, and almost all they laid was granted. But when we laid ours, I don't know what went into their thinking. They denied almost everything we laid down," Mr. Adams said. So he's talking about unfair treatment there from the Fair Wages Commission. He's saying that, they are threatening to go on strike if their terms are not met. I think the government should act quickly to ensure that they are also given equal hearing as other groups have brought in their concerns and have been adhered to and solved. It's important to give equal hearing to all people, not just some, but all people must be equally heard and at least listen to what they have to say. And if they're if there's a way to go about it to ensure that their reasons for even threatening to go on strike makes sense, then you decide on what to do. Don't forget that this is a teaching hospital, and if they want to go on strike, what matters most, I believe, is lives. It's more important to listen to what their grievances is than to turn a blind eye, if this is truly the case as we are seeing. All right, let's look at other news. Dog Patrol Police launches K9 unit to fight crime. As part of the proactive preventative policing strategy, the K9 unit of the Ghana Police Service, with renewed energy, has commenced its outdoor operations. A police statement on Facebook noted that for the past couple of weeks, personnel with highly trained security dogs under leash have been strategically positioned across the capital for operational patrols. I think this is so important because we have seen a sudden increase in crimes across the capital, and the Ghana Police has had to double its effort to ensure that citizens and properties are protected. I think this is probably one of the main reasons why they have launched the K9 units, to ensure that crimes are minimized. This component of policing is aimed at increasing the visibility of personnel, improving intelligence gathering, tracking of contraband goods, and improving upon other aspects of criminal investigations. In a quote, plans are underway to extend this component of police visibility to other regions. So not only Accra, you have to look out for it, that it's going to be in other regions as well. Good job by the Ghana Police there. Okay, let's look a little bit at showbiz now. What is happening? We are told that Midika is remanded to prison custody for 5 days. Now, he's the hip life artist, also known as Samuel Frimpong, popularly known as Midika, has been remanded to prison custody for 5 days. This was the ruling of a circuit court judge in Accra recently on the artist's first appearance in court for brandicizing a weapon. Medical, who has been charged with display of arms and ammunition, pleaded not guilty to the charge. Okay, so we have seen just this week alone, we've seen a number of hip life artists being caught under the law. This also includes Shatta Wale. I'm sure a lot of you have heard about what he actually did. It looks like the police, are not in any mood to accept any form of stunts by artists who may want to drive attention to themselves. Indeed, if you want to drive attention to yourself, there are better ways of doing it. You don't have to portray firearms or indeed go as far as lying that you are going to be shot, etc. I think we are having enough of such stunts that flooding our social media platforms. It is time we begin to talk more about positive news, things that will literally move us forward, not only as a people, but as a continent. Because if we're going to be taken seriously by other countries, it also largely depends on the sort of content we are portraying out there. We can't be seen as portraying content just to get publicity. If you want to get publicity, do something fantastic, not portraying negativity. We've had enough of that, and I think the Ghana police is literally letting people know that they are serious. They are in no nonsense mood. Let's watch out for that. All right. Don't forget to leave your comments. As I said below, we will be very happy to reach out to you and answer any of your questions. Let's look at some news trending across Africa, starting with the film industry. Africa's film and audiovisual industry could create over 20 million jobs and an extra $20 billion in annual revenues with further investment, according to a major new report by UNESCO. The Nollywood model, which is the Nollywood, yes, of course, Nollywood, the Nigerian movie industry, where procedures make a film in weeks for as little as $15,000, is one of several approaches that could drive film industry jobs across Africa, the authors say. The model, characterized by low-cost, speedy production focused on authentic storylines, has inspired filmmakers across Africa to create dynamic local ecosystems with their own economies, distribution networks, and star systems. However, the report notes that in many countries, the industry, in a quote, is historically and structurally underfunded, underdeveloped, and undervalued, with only 44% of countries having an established film commission, 55% having a film policy, and 35% offering financial support to filmmakers. More formal government support would undoubtedly be welcome, but Nollywood shows that homegrown enthusiasm, passion, and craft are the indispensable ingredients of a movie success. Don't forget to leave your comments below about what you think with regards to the African film industry, and we will be happy to get back to you. Now, let's look at other news in Africa. The IMF failed to publish the latest economic data on Ethiopia's growth and recovery in 2022 in its latest World Economic Outlook. The missing data is a bad sign to foreign investment, analysts say, while the only other countries whose data sets were incomplete were war-torn and failed states of Afghanistan, Libya, and Syria. The omission came as the Ethiopian army launched a ground offensive in the Amhara region this week as the UN, EU, and US threatened sanctions. So IMF has failed to publish the latest economic data on Ethiopia's growth and recovery in 2022 in its latest World Economic Outlook, and this could be worrying to foreign investors who are looking out for countries who have good points, who have good listings, so that they can invest in those countries. Other countries that also had omissions included Afghanistan, Libya, and Syria. UN, EU, and US have threatened sanctions in all these countries. Let's hope that Africa will indeed begin to arise and take up its future once again. And our final headline across Africa, it's on the UN's top court, the International Court of Justice, ruled in favor of